that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello. Don't pray to the cripple god to cure your cancer, because the cancer may be cured, but you may not have legs anymore. I'm a little bit ahead of the game here, so I figured I'll make this a video instead of a live stream. Also, because I want to make sure I save those live streams for the Expanding Universe podcast, and only got up to 20 hours, so I gotta be careful with that. But here we are. Non-spoilers, with also spoilers, but I'll mention when I'm getting to spoilers, of my thoughts on part 1 of Memories of Ice, the third book in the Book of Malazan, which I'm going to call basically up to page 500. Basically when it becomes book 3 is when I stopped. So novel 3 and then book 3 within the novels where I stopped. So beyond that, I don't know what happens. So I'm basically entirely off of the first half of the novel. Because 500, I tell you what, that's almost the end of a Dune novel. So that's, very long. It's things click here. If you weren't sure about part 1 and you read part 2 and you're like, I enjoyed it, but I don't get it. This one, already things are coming into place. It's a little bit more understandable. Still, this is Malazan, so every time you think you got it, you don't got it. There's gonna be a bunch of things that confuse you, but by and large, here I have a picture forming of like what's going on, and I think it works a lot better. Plus, we're back on Genebacus, same place as Gardens of the Moon, so already you got a bit of familiar territory there. Now we're expanding the world beyond what we actually saw on Gardens of the Moon, but we deal with the Panion Domain, the religious threat. Now, as of this point in the book, I'm not feeling it in terms of this is a big threat. Remember, this is a big threat that requires Anamanda Rake, Kaladin Brood, and all these different peoples to, despite any differences, join together to defeat this bigger threat. This is a big deal. However, it doesn't... I keep hearing, that they eat people, that they do these terrible things. Da-da. I even see a little bit of it, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it yet. And I don't know that I will. We'll see in the second half if that changes, but right now I'm not. Just because you're telling me that they're a threat doesn't mean I'm going to believe you because I don't see it. However, I trust Erickson. So I trust, if I'm not being shown it in the first half, I most definitely will be shown it in the second half. But we'll see. Perrin, from the first book, he's dealing with a lot. And I can't really talk about it without getting into spoilers, so I'm not going to. But let's just say I'm really enjoying his arc. We're getting a lot more stuff with the past. We're getting... Unfortunately, I know the title, the final book of this series, which is The Crippled God. So, of course, when I see that name here, I'm going to pay a wider attention to it, and I'll leave that there. We got a new character named Gruntle. Don't got too much to say. He's been hanging out with some necromancers named Botulin and Corbel Broach, and they're an interesting bunch. I don't really want to get too much into it there, but clearly Erickson liked them enough. Erickson? Sorry. Liked them enough that he made an entire spin-off series revolving around them specifically, so he had fun with them. We've got stuff going on with Talk the Younger. That is a big spoiler, but not a big spoiler, really. But let's just say there's more to be done with Talk than him being thrown into a warren in book 1. Beyond that, I will keep my mouth shut. But I'm just saying, he shall return. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but oh well. More stuff with Tool. Whiskey Jack, the Bridge Burners, all those guys. They're all back. Hold on. So far into it, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I want to say more, but non-spoiler wise I can't, and I don't have the full context because I haven't finished the book. These are just my thoughts on the first half, so I don't want to say anything more till I actually finish it, know what it's completely about. But from what I read, it's pretty good so far. I think this book will determine whether or not you want to keep going. 3 books is a lot, and this one's 1,000 pages long. So if you're not feeling it, if you're like, I still don't get the hype, I don't enjoy it, I'm not enjoying it, you might as well stop, because I don't think there's going to be too much of a difference of format, except for the next book, but I don't think it's going to change too much. So it's either you like it at this point and you finally kind of understand with, like, and vibe with it, or you won't, and that's really all there is to it. But that's about it for non-spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, I suggest you leave, because I'm going to talk about the entire first half of this book. Starting with prologue, Ancient Past, with the Jagut and the Jagat and the Talanamas, and this one Talanamas saving these Jagat children only to trap them eternally in torment. Was an interesting introduction. Then we, right after, basically right after Shaning raced from Gardens of the Moon, Tilana Mas immediately went back to hunting down all the other Jagut, which I thought was fun. Um, um, there's a Bonecaster bargain with the mother, and the mother dies, the Jagut mother, but the children survive with the Tilana Mas until she doesn't. Also, this is the 33rd Jagat War against the Tilana Mas, so Tilana Mas against them, I guess. But this has been going on a long time. Then we get another big revelation with Kroll, Draconis, and Calor, who is basically being a terrible being, and these gods decide we're going to stop him, and so he basically destroys everything in spite, and then they curse him, and he curses them back. And I'm a little confused by it, but I think a podcast may have spoiled it. I don't think it was a spoiler, but they said, like, killing all those people, like, gave him the same amount of power. I don't know. But basically, this mortal man was able to curse the gods, but they cursed him first, which I thought made him the cripple god. There's some recent stuff that has me questioning that. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that, but anyway, so this guy kills everyone, curses these gods. One's going to be forgotten, one's going to be killed by his own making or something. And Draconis, Dragon Pier, the sword that Animander Rake has. So, and then this other lady, which I believe is the Earth. I'm kind of confused about that too, but that she's going to suffer a lot. And so, but basically, so that's like an origin story, I think, for the big bad guy, I'm assuming. And then it gives a lot of context to some other things that have been going on in this series thus far. Moving on, we come back to present day, and we meet some new characters, because we already have so many characters as it is, but we get introduced to more. With Gruntle, Stony, and Storby, we get introduced to Emanciper Reese, who is a servant to these two necromancers named Botulin and Corbel Broach. Also, they have a cat named Squirrel. Fun. Um, Talk the Younger lives. He meets up with Tool, which is very cool. They have a very interesting dynamic. We learned about these undead wolves. We meet a lady named Envy, who is a daughter to Draconis, so that's also interesting. Um, we also meet a new faction of beings. I don't know what race they are, but they're called the Zagula, and they have a very interesting thing. But yeah, this is also where we learned that Dragon Pier was made by Draconis, which probably means that Amanda Rake at some point killed Draconis with his own sword, or entrapped him, I guess. Crippled God. There's this scene with this beggar guy, and he's talking to the crippled God, and he asks if he can be cured of cancer because he's got cancer in his legs. And the crippled God says, sure, no problem. And so I forget, he either breaks his legs or gets rid of his legs. So now he has to crawl to wherever he's going to go next because, look, I got rid of your cancer. You just can't walk anymore. So that was interesting. We get to see Quick Ben again. We get to see Ganos Perrin. He's sick. We get to see Tattersail again. Although, of course, now she's dubbed Silver Fox, and it's much like Dune, where you have a child that's smarter than she should be. Sorry about that. Calor has extreme... See, this is where I get confused, because this Calor that we get introduced to here, same person from Gardens of the Moon. Is this the same person from that flashback? Because the person from the flashback I thought became the crippled god. I don't know. Also, I like that Ganos Perrin trusts in his sister Tavor to take care of his sister. Deadhouse Gates, your sister's not doing too well, Perrin. It's gonna suck when you learn that fact, but no, she's not doing well at all. We also learn about a city called Kapistan. We have Darushtistan, then we have Kapistan. And Kapistan is where I assume a big battle is going to take place because they're all kind of trying to converge on that city. Silver Fox is also going to control the Telanomas, which is interesting. Kind of reminds me of the most recent Dune book I read, Heretics of Dune, where the girl is going to control the worms. We also learned that Crone, by association all the other ravens, are born from the maggot flesh of the crippled god. Alright. Moving on. We got 2 more pages of notes here. So the House of Azoth and the card decks are connected. There's another big thing. We get reintroduced to Kroopy, get reintroduced to Rake. We also learn that Raist is forced to be a guardian for the Azoth. It's interesting. There's talks of a war beyond the one that we're facing this book, but also how they're all one and the same. It's a very interesting idea that, like, you know, we got different wars, different battles, different things going on in this universe, but it's all kind of one cosmic war against something, which I thought was cool. Also, weirdly, Crone seems to have... Crone, who's a crow, has a relationship with Maybes, which is interesting. Now, Maybes is the mother for Silver Fox, and her life essence is basically being drained away as Silver Fox rapidly ages. So she was, like, maybe younger than me when this all started, and now she's, like, in her 70s. So her life is literally being drained away. Brood and Rake are bros, and that's just really cool. I don't know what else to say about that. He's got a big giant hammer, Brood, and he also can't use it because then he might destroy the world. I like Brood. So here's a big thing here. So Perrin is sick and he's not feeling well constantly, because he is basically rejecting ascending to godhood. But guess what? And later on, even the crippled god would make musings about the deck of cards and saying how no one's ever been a master of it, ever, and it's never going to be. But here we learn that like Perrin's destiny is to become the master, the god of the dragon deck. Whatever the hell that means, Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff, man. But that's a very big thing because the cards that I don't understand at all, these tarot cards, I still don't understand them at all. I'm 3 books in, I don't get it. But I know that they're a big deal, and the fact that Perrin has the potential to be in control of that is actually mind-boggling. Um, I just wrote down some names. Hitan, Katal, Netek are Bargast siblings. Also, Corbin or Corbol and Botulin, their names stand for Corbol summons undead, and Botulin or well, not stands for. So Corbol focuses on summoning undead to life, and Botulin's whole thing is demonic summoning. They're necromancers. So Hitan and Gruntle have sex, so good for Gruntle, I guess. And then we jump over to book 2. Um, there's a quote that I just like called "Peace is just waiting for war." Um, we learn about a guy named Brokilian, who is like a shield, anvil, like guard master thing in the city of Kepistan, which has its own sort of unique rules and structures and everything. Um, they also worship this thing called the Boar of Summer, which is the voice of war, I guess, whatever that means. Um, we have mentioned it before, but here we actually get to meet them, the Kachane Chamel Kale Hunters, which, I mean, how much more childlike can you possibly get? They are, I imagine there's different heights for these things, but we got T-Rexes slash Velociraptors with sword arms. Now, doesn't that just sound absolutely stupid? And yet somehow Steven Erikson makes that really cool and something I take seriously? Like, that's... I'm telling you, this would thrive as an anime and nothing else. Interesting, the Penian Dumen, that is a Jagut name. Tool gives a new name to Talk, which is Ariophael. And so Talk has this weird thing where he has the ability to see the past through other things. So Treach, back in the past, Talk sees through him. But in between all this time, we're seeing this kind of like bond form between Tool and Talk, and it's a really nice bond, and I really enjoy their friendship. Also, Envy and Kroll have a conversation, which is pretty cool, saying how Talk is extremely important, so that's cool. These 3 Segula are Envy's servants, but that was apparently Kroll's idea, which is also interesting. We also learn, this is probably like one of the biggest revelations of this entire book, and it's just casually mentioned, that Warrens are Krell's flesh, or like a part of his being. Like the reason people can use Warrens, if I'm understanding correctly, is because that's like Kroll's body that people are jumping through. I don't even fully understand that, but that's what it sounds like, and that's insane. So that was a big deal. You get mentions the House of Chains. Why does it matter? Well, that's the title of the next book, silly. We get this huge flashback when Whiskey Jack is talking to Rake about how Whiskey Jack met Quick Ben in 7 cities, or not in 7 cities, but on the continent in 7 cities at Raraku with Calum, and that was pretty cool. We also have this. Is it nice, or is this like some sort of 4D chess? I don't know. But Kroopy is really nice to Murby and gives her some copper because it apparently helps against magic. So to like ease her pain, I guess. Also, a little interesting note as their musings. Envy used to be in a relationship with Rake, apparently, and she says that Talk reminds her of Rake. Tisti Leons are mentioned here, which they're not in the story as far as I can tell so far, they're just mentioned. Here's the thing, all you have to know, so that is the Tisti Andy, but white, like milk white. So we got the Tisti Andy, which are as dark as can be. We got the Tisti Endor, which we met in the last book, which are like gray, more primitive, and then we have the the Tisti Leons, which are white versions of them. Buke wants Gruntle's help to stop Corbo and Botulin from killing and resurrecting more people. There's also this really uncomfy scene. Envy and Talk end up going to this, I don't know if it's like an encampment or like this small town or like a city. I'm like really confused on that. Maybe just wasn't paying enough attention. It was most likely that. But Talk ends up meeting the Seer, like the lord in charge of all of it, this like old guy, and forces him to eat like human meat, and that was really uncomfy. Yeah, and then my only thing is like, because I thought Calvar in that flashback was the crippled god. But now I don't know if that's true. So now I'm just really confused because the last little section makes it explicitly clear that they're like not the same. So I'm really confused because I thought I had it down, but I think I didn't at all. So now I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening anymore. But yeah, the next chapter or the next book, book 3, is titled Capistan. So I assume some stuff is going to go down, but I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's pretty much it for my thoughts on part 1. I don't know if part 2 is going to be another 2 books or if I'm just going to talk about the rest of the book, but this has been my thoughts on the first half of the novel. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, so give a thumbs up. I know I'm kind of scatterbrained and I'm kind of all over the place and I don't take the best notes, but I'm really enjoying my time with Malazan. I can't lie and say all 1,000 pages always is gripping me. But I'm always compelled to eventually read more and more and more, and I think that's a testament to this series. And I imagine it'll be even better on a reread whenever I decide to do that, but I am really enjoying my time with it, and I'm excited to see what comes next. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And don't let those giant dino monsters with blades slice you down. Till next time.